Kurt has been striving to gain popularity online for many years. On his channel, Kurt's World 96, he engages in various activities such as creating Draw My Life videos, gaming, reviewing shoes, and discussing his favorite keyboard shortcuts. He also showcases his DJ father, Chris, who divorced Kurt's mother a while back. Due to the distress this caused his mother, Kurt decided to be a supportive son and reside with her while earning money through babysitting. Despite his consistent recording, Kurt has not managed to attract a committed audience for his videos, with his view count never surpassing 10. This is in stark contrast to Bobby and his channel, Bobby Basecamp, whom Kurt used to babysit and who has now become a renowned influencer. Kurt considers himself Bobby's friend, but Bobby merely tolerates him and keeps him away from his own camera. After facing numerous unsuccessful live streams over the course of 10 years, Kurt reaches a breaking point and decides to give his channel one final attempt with something he calls The Lesson. This project aims to teach people how to build an online following. To kickstart The Lesson, Kurt begins by outfitting his car with multiple cameras and numerous water bottles, stating that this is the first step. If you're not documenting yourself, you simply cease to exist. Kurt will use this car for his job as a driver for a rideshare app called Spree. His first passenger is a man who refuses to wear his seatbelt and is suspicious of the cameras in the car. Kurt assures him that the cameras are for safety purposes. This passenger also espouses white supremacist views, which concerns Kurt because he worries it could negatively impact his live streaming audience, which currently consists only of Bobby. In response, Kurt starts driving more recklessly. The passenger complains, but Kurt encourages him to drink the complimentary bottled water. Unbeknownst to the passenger, the water is poisoned, and Kurt has even created a video tutorial on how to poison it without getting caught. Kurt plays music and speeds through a stop sign, causing the passenger to die in the back seat, coughing his life away. Bobby, Kurt's only viewer, thinks it's all staged for views, but Kurt is satisfied because this is part of the lesson, making it difficult for people to discern what he is doing is real initially, in order to maximize attention in the future. Kurt's next passenger is an unpleasant realtor who accidentally leaves her sign in the trunk. They engage in small talk, and she voluntarily drinks a water bottle, becoming Kurt's second victim. Kurt goes to the back seat to properly show the body on camera and even jokes about drinking the water himself. Just then, Chris calls Kurt to request a ride, but Kurt ignores the call and hangs up. Afterwards, he proceeds to conceal his actions. He unlocks the woman's phone using her lifeless face and awards himself a 5-star rating on the transportation app. Then he responds to a text message with an impolite message to prevent the woman from attending a professional meeting. Once he disposes of the body, Kurt picks up his next passenger, an unpleasant and muscle-headed individual named Mario. Kurt attempts to play his own music, but Mario complains about it and refuses to accept the complimentary water. Kurt then takes a detour to pick up another passenger, disregarding Mario's complaints since it was Mario who had chosen the shared ride option. The passenger turns out to be a renowned influencer and comedian named Jesse, who immediately cancels the ride upon hearing Mario's inappropriate advances and departs. Mario urges Kurt to follow her, and Kurt offers to drive her for free just to get her into the car. During the drive, Kurt discovers that Jessie has a substantial following and inquires about her success, to which she simply responds that she is naturally funny. Kurt continues to seek assistance from her, while Mario persists in making inappropriate comments, prompting Jessie to record everything for her social media before exiting the car, fed up with the harassment from these two creepy individuals. Now Kurt is upset because he missed an opportunity to befriend a genuinely successful influencer, so he abruptly changes his route and takes Mario to a distant construction site. Kurt has been driving so recklessly that Mario begins to feel ill, and Kurt forces him to leave the car to avoid any vomit on his seats. Mario grumbles but still departs because he needs to use the restroom. Right then, Kurt cranks up his own song and accelerates, intentionally colliding his car with Mario, causing his body to soar above the vehicle and land on the front windshield, creating a gruesomely perfect shot for the camera. After disposing of Mario's body and cleaning his car, Kurt starts stalking Jessie on her social media and discovers that she has a stand-up comedy show scheduled for that night. He interprets this as a sign, believing that he and Jessie are two significant events happening on the same night. However, Kurt is not yet popular, as he still has very few viewers and his only supporter is Bobby, who remains skeptical about the authenticity of the murders. Bobby himself is a deceitful creator, often pranking the homeless and even staging acts of kindness for his videos. This is in stark contrast to Jessie, who is admired for her authenticity and relatability. Shortly after, Kurt pulls into a gas station, removes a realtor sign, refuels his car, and engages in a heated argument with Bobby, who suggests that Kurt should add excitement to his live stream. Once the blood has been completely cleaned from his car, Kurt attempts to spice things up as Bobby advised by driving recklessly for his next passengers, a group of wealthy individuals consisting of Richard, Kendra, and London. Initially, Richard and Kendra are terrified by Kurt's reckless driving, while London is thrilled and sees it as an exhilarating adventure, enthusiastically moving to the front seat to chat with Kurt. Eventually, Kurt veers off course once again and drives the group to a scrapyard. He instructs Richard and Kendra to stick their heads out of the sunroof, claiming that there's a picturesque view that would be perfect for posting on social media. Richard and Kendra play along and actually enjoy themselves. However, Kurt suddenly accelerates and closes the sunroof, trapping his unsuspecting victims inside while his chosen song plays in the background. In that moment, some stray dogs from the scrapyard pounce on Richard and Kendra, ready to feed. Seizing the opportunity, Kurt grabs a power drill from his car and uses it to viciously attack London. Afterward, Kurt takes his vehicle to the car wash and contacts Bobby for his opinion. Unfortunately, Bobby had missed Kurt's triple kill as he had lost interest in watching the stream. Kurt angrily demands to know why Bobby hasn't given him the promised shout-out, to which Bobby suggests that Kurt should strive to be more like Jessie, as she comes across as genuine. Feeling envious, Kurt revisits Jessie's social media accounts and leaves bitter comments, nitpicking even the smallest details such as how she films her stories horizontally. Meanwhile, as Kurt drives resentfully to a house in the suburbs, Jessie uploads a video she had recorded in the car, intending to publicly expose Mario and Kurt. She then visits her grandmother to provide care and documents the experience for her social media. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, causing Jessie to worry as she wasn't expecting anyone. However, it turns out to be Mike, a fellow stand-up comedian, who wishes to discuss some work-related matters. Kurt makes a shocking discovery that he is actually visiting Bobby, who publicly demands Kurt to leave because they have no working relationship or friendship. Bobby insults Kurt as he approaches him for assistance, causing Bobby's fans to flock to Kurt's live stream to hear his side of the argument. In a surprising turn of events, Kurt suddenly attacks Bobby with a knife while his live stream gains a significant number of viewers. Bobby, in an act of self-defense, tries to use a gun, but Kurt prevails and kills him, although his audience believes it to be a staged act. To further boost his live stream's viewership, Kurt takes advantage of Bobby's channel and even records himself showering to eliminate any traces of blood. Meanwhile, Kurt's father contacts him, requesting a ride to a performance. Initially hesitant because he wants to attend Jessie's show, Kurt changes his mind after his father mentions meeting a famous DJ. Kurt picks up his father, and their strained relationship quickly escalates into an argument. Chris is taken aback when they discover Bobby's gun in the car and scolds Kurt for it, resulting in another intense confrontation that only ends when they hide the gun to avoid the approaching police. Once they finally arrive at the club, they encounter the renowned DJ named Uno. They request her to mention Kurt's channel in a social media post. Initially, she declines, but later agrees when she becomes bored and asks Kurt to drive her to a taco truck. Eventually, they locate a taco truck and Uno insists that Kurt take photos of her and wait in line as part of their agreement. As the queue is quite lengthy, Kurt decides to share repulsive stories to discourage customers. Meanwhile, Uno searches the car and discovers a gun that Kurt had taken from Bobby. She uses it as a prop for a few selfies. Uno then drinks some water, unknowingly consuming one of Kurt's potent concoctions, causing her to immediately lose consciousness. When Kurt returns to the car with the food, he discovers that Uno is unresponsive and hastily disposes of the water bottle. Unfortunately, this catches the attention of the police, who approach Kurt and request him to undergo a sobriety test. Kurt pretends that Uno is his girlfriend who has fallen asleep. Suddenly, Uno regains consciousness as she hadn't consumed enough to fully succumb, and upon seeing the police, she panics and shoots one officer before fleeing. One of the cops pursues her, while Kurt seizes the opportunity to evade in his vehicle, only to find himself being followed. His live stream viewership has skyrocketed into the 5-figure range. In a desperate attempt to escape from the police, Kurt drives recklessly and ultimately crashes into a homeless camp, intentionally causing harm to some of the individuals there before his car flips over. Meanwhile, Jessie receives a ride to her show from a person named Mike, who constantly bothers her and boasts about his numerous connections. Although he performs a short opening act, he fails to elicit any laughter from the audience. However, when Jessie takes the stage, the public goes wild. Unbeknownst to them, Kurt lurks in a corner with his gun. After cracking a few of her usual jokes, Jessie begins to talk about her experience with Mario and Kurt during the spree, highlighting how Kurt's obsession with gaining social media followers led her to reflect on her own life. She stresses that true happiness cannot be found in the number of subscribers or views, as one is only subjected to judgment and hatred for the sake of others' entertainment. To emphasize her point, Jessie smashes her phone on stage, symbolizing her decision to break free from the grip of social media. This shocking moment leaves everyone in awe. Moved by Jessie's speech, Kurt decides to depart without causing further chaos. However, he soon discovers that the spree service has been temporarily suspended due to his murderous actions. To leave the scene, Kurt hails a ride through an app called GoGo and hops into a car driven by a friendly man named David. Without missing a beat, David cracks a joke about not being the reckless driver responsible for the night's killings. Kurt is deeply offended by this and wastes no time in swiftly killing David. Meanwhile, in the bar, Jessie has grown tired of dealing with Mike, who continues to film her despite her decision to step away from social media. To escape him, she calls for a go-go ride. When David's car arrives, Jessie is surprised to find Kurt behind the wheel. He reveals to her that he is the driver she mocked in her comedy routine and reminds her that he was present at her show. Knowing that Jessie cannot use her phone for help as she had previously destroyed it, Kurt believes she is defenseless and announces that he plans to take her to his home so they can replace hate with love. However, Jessie fights back, using a phone charger cord to strangle Kurt until the car crashes into a trash container. Kurt stops the car, frustrated, and responds by punching Jessie, causing her to lose consciousness. He then drives her to his front lawn, where he drags her body into the headlights of his car. Seeking input from his audience, Kurt asks them what he should do with Jessie, and they overwhelmingly choose for him to kill her. Prepared to run her over, Kurt is encouraged by his viewers in the chat. However, as he pauses to adjust a fallen camera, he loses sight of Jessie. Worried, he exits the car to search for her, while the chat criticizes him for his careless mistake. The spectators are proven correct. Jessie seizes the opportunity to enter the car and take control of the steering wheel. Immediately, she uses the vehicle to intentionally hit Kurt. Unfortunately, she loses control and crashes the car into the side of his house, giving Kurt the chance to evade. Then, Kurt attempts to kill Jessie by forcefully pressing her face against the airbag. However, Jessie manages to push him away, causing Kurt to flee into another room. While Jessie pleads for help on the live stream and tries to convince viewers that the situation is real, Chris arrives and is shocked to find the demolished house with Kurt's deceased mother lying on the floor. It is later revealed that she was Kurt's initial victim, murdered off-screen before he embarked on his destructive spree. Suddenly, Kurt emerges and retrieves Bobby's gun from his car. He proceeds to shoot his father multiple times, swiftly ending his life. Meanwhile, Jessie endeavors to escape in the car. Unable to reverse, she resorts to driving forward, ultimately crushing Kurt against the wall. The chat urges her to check on his body, and reluctantly, Jessie complies, only to discover that Kurt is still alive. She is left with no choice but to finish him off by smashing his head with his phone. A flashback to a few minutes earlier reveals Kurt's satisfaction at having an audience of 50,000 people watching him. Eventually, the chat requests a selfie with the lifeless body, and Jessie obliges. In the ensuing days, Kurt's case becomes a sensation in the media. Jessie, now a renowned multimedia figure, attains even greater fame. While Kurt is despised by all journalists, he is hailed as a hero by certain unsavory corners of the internet like 4chan and Reddit. As these online platforms fill with admiration for Kurt, one user discloses that a movie titled Spree is being made about him. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more video like this.